Welcome to OHBPOVPodcast. This is Rusty McGibney. I'm Sean Dennis. Welcome to the show. You know how it goes. Rusty's got a new topic for us this week. He's going to surprise me with it, and then we're going to argue about it. See what happens. Mm-hmm. Maybe he'll pick one day we agree on.
Yeah,
it's possible.
Yeah.
So what's our topic this week?
Well, I don't think we ever. I want to do this, but we need to find a suitable clip that we can insert in there for a drum roll.
We do need. Remember how we talked at the beginning, having a little tray where we had like some sound effects that we could hit. We need to talk about how to do that.
Yeah, we need to do that.
She does all the work already, so we need to figure out how to create that.
That's true. We'll get it. Okay. So, does your tongue go? Can you roll your tongue? No, not do that. No, but I mean, make the sound.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, there we go. That's good enough.
All for a drum.
Yes.
I didn't even know what I was doing.
You did it though.
I was so confused.
So, one of the outside of our new pope, one of the biggest things in the news this week is just the fact that Boeing sucks.
And the new airplane?
And a new airplane from Qatar.
Yeah.
Or Kuwait or Qatar.
Whatever.
Yes, okay.
I think it's UAE.
No, I know it's not the UAE.
Oh, it's not?
It's either...
Qatar. It's from
Qatar.
Pretty sure.
So there's... well, first, what's your opinion about that? What do you think of a foreign government giving us Air Force One?
I have mixed feelings on it. If I have to pick a side of the fence I'm going to fall, I'm going to say it's okay. I mean, common sense tells me that there's no doubt in my mind they went through that plane completely to make sure.
We haven't been given it yet.
Well,
so
we have or we will go through it completely to make sure that it's clean of anything that they did to it that could allow them to spy on anything we're doing. It's going to be...
it's almost going to be gutted because of everything that's put in there.
Probably for him specifically. So I'm not worried about the security of it. With regard to the countries bribing each other,
the emoluments clause.
How about Statue of Liberty? It was a gift from France.
Right.
Should we have not taken that?
And
there's been, and you don't even have to bring up the corrupt part, which is all the money that went to NGOs and went. I mean, personally, I have no idea. I'm just talking out my ass right now. But I would bet my life that of all the money that Biden sent to Ukraine, that tons of that money got kicked back to other countries or him or other people or whatever. So right. I think this is, to me, I'd rather have full transparency and know who's given what to who than the corrupt way of doing it under the table.
Right.
So I'll fall on the side of, I think look at it as we create goodwill between them and us.
Well, it's...
When that's not always been there.
No, and some of the comments that he made, for reference, everyone, the tinkle, tinkle, tinkle that you hear, that's Bella.
That's
Bella.
That's the podcast. What do we call her?
Mascot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
She is.
She keeps us in line. But the where was I?
You were talking about the plane,
right,
and them giving it to us, and I was talking about it being transparent, and it'd be better that way than corrupt
what he
under
said,
the table.
What he's been saying over there. So in some of the speeches that he's had, his thing is bringing the Middle East together.
Yeah,
it'll
change the world.
It is. My feeling is, I really understand why Israel is
Man,
just
we're
kind
going
of push.
deep world politics already.
Well,
okay,
he's
I wasn't prepared for this.
Well, okay, but how he is pushing and pushing and pushing, because growing up, in the 70s, early
That's
80s.
the point of this podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, good point. Make
70s,
it.
early
What's your
80s.
thought?
I remember hearing in the news about cafes, being, bombed and things over there, but they just went about their business, they
Everyday life.
Go everyday life. And I think, holy cow, how can they do that? I mean, the country's the size of what? New York?
What country?
Israel.
Bigger than that, I think. But okay.
Well,
go ahead.
New York State's pretty good size.
Yeah.
Not New York City. I'm
Yeah, I
talking New York State.
understand,
But it is concerning to me about the aggressiveness that I understand they haven't gotten the hostages back, the final ones. My concern is that they're deceased and they just know the ramifications of, or they have no idea where they are. I mean, with this savagery that they
who
they
they
did.
do have left that still is alive is their only leverage.
But what
if
leverage,
there are, well, I mean, it's to be alive.
Well, I understand.
They give up,
but
they give them up, and they're all going to be dead.
I mean, that's it. There can't be much in the way of Hamas left. It's just the people.
I think you underestimate. I don't know, but the news tries to convince us that that's a little cell, and I think they are just a branch of Iran. I don't think they have anything to do with being able to be eliminated until you eliminate Iran. I don't think Hamas is just a cell. When they're dead, Iran will replace them with new. Okay, that's my feeling.
Well, I mean, there's the Sunnis or the Sunnis and the Shias and the Taliban and I mean, just on and on and on. They fight with each other.
What I remember of the 70s and the 80s was the hostages in Iran. Ayatollah Khomeini, I've still got it. I'm a pack rat, unfortunately. I've still got the T-shirt with sleeves cut off that have the Ayatollah's face on it with the finger on the face. You know?
One of them was Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, but we were just raised where the enemy to us was Iran.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The Ayatollah Khomeini, clear back then.
Yeah,
and it kind of evolved into Russia eventually,
because they were in Afghanistan.
Yeah,
so.
But what I remember of the 70s is Iran, and I think still to this minute, Iran is what creates the instability in the Middle East and keeps it unstable. They fuel all the little cells, keeping everybody pissed at each other and everybody
but
blaming each other.
We've got them under so much embargo. They're not supposed to be making any money.
No, Biden released all that shit.
I honestly,
he gave them billions of dollars.
I don't have a bit of problem thinking that. I don't know how much I trust the UAE.
I don't trust anybody
because.
Well,
why could
they?
Just like you just said earlier, the billions we sent over to,
with no accountability.
Yes.
None.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you think that somehow, money from the UAE wouldn't filter into, hey, we like keeping things stirred up over here a little bit. So
I think Iran is the black sheep of that family in the Middle East. They're the. I mean, you can pick some others, Yemen, and there's different areas up there but Iran really is the one that controls keeping everybody at odds, keeping everybody angry at everybody. I think you shut Iran down one way or the other. But I wanted to respond to what you said about UAE and not trusting them. What's the old saying? I mean, there's like a dozen of them that remind me of growing up. You keep your enemies close, okay? Closer.
No,
you keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Yes.
Okay, so wouldn't you want to have a relationship where you're looking in their eyeballs and have at least a dialogue, even if you know they're lying to you, probably? Because if I could look at somebody, Trump could look at somebody, they might, maybe we better not just fuck with him.
Well,
you know what I mean? So what's the detriment to having a dialogue with anybody?
But, well, there's also something, and I'm going to butcher how it's pronounced, but something on the neighborhood of Qatar. It's, an Arab phrase, I believe, is what they said is, but it basically means we will, and this started, hundreds of years ago between the Sunnis and the Shiites. And it was, I will tell you what you want to hear, but I will do what is in my interest.
The problem with all this is that, like, my opinion's worthless, your opinion's worthless. All we know is what.
No, it's not, because you're listening.
Yeah, but all we know is what we're being told. You know what I mean? We don't really know.
Great truth, yes.
So I mean, it's.
So in
I
truth,
just boil it back to religion. Period. Everywhere.
But okay.
Period.
Based on that, that is why this is important, because we have to have dialogue. We have to have opinions going back and
even
forth.
If they do something bad, that doesn't mean you can't talk to them.
Right. Yeah, we have to.
We can disagree with things they do, but we can't just shun them.
What's the other old saying? Trust but verify.
Yeah.
We do have to work with people. We do have to make sure that
we just have to know they're going to lie.
Exactly.
Period. They're spinning the same way we're spinning.
Yes.
For our own personal country's interest.
And that's why I've got to think.
And if we're not leading.
Well, yeah. And see, the thing is, when you get people like Biden in there, the weakness of what he was as a president, I mean, all this coming out now, I mean, we all saw it in the news. You couldn't turn on any event that Biden was at and not see that he was riddled with dementia and Alzheimer's. And now we just saw a newscast that they're coming out that he has prostate cancer. Now, prostate cancer is usually something that is pretty treatable.
At that age, I don't know, though. We'll see.
Maybe.
It's going to be, even if it is treatable, that whole process is going to be pretty big tug on a body that old.
I'm going to really, speculate that I think the Alzheimer's will get him before the prostate cancer will. But
he'll be dead in a year.
Somebody like,
within a year.
I'm not so sure that's not in the plan too.
What plan?
Tiny little bit of arsenic. Oh, he's got prostate cancer. But yeah,
come on.
Oh,
they'll put us over with conspiracy theorists. You're just way out there now.
We are now. But the thing is, his weakness. So if you have somebody in the White House that is making these deals with people from the Middle East, and they go into it fully trusting, as opposed to Trump, who he is the epitome of just what they're doing. I'll tell you what you want to hear.
They asked Trump, and he said, shoot, I lost my train of thought. In that interview with Bear, I'll think of it again.
Okay.
Go ahead. But he asked him, that wasn't with Bear, it was that ABC guy, and he asked him, do you trust Putin? He said, I don't trust you. I don't trust anybody. You know? What?
And that's perfect.
You know?
I mean,
you trust
that
your family.
is exactly
period.
when you are dealing with these people
Anybody.
who it's all their own agenda. And I mean, I can't say that that should be how we
I'd
stand.
like to understand what the downside is, because I'm not smart enough, because I've been trying to wrap this whole thing around my brain. I don't understand, what is the detriment? What is the downside of bringing $2 trillion into our country to be dumped here? What's the downside?
But from where? What?
Well, he got $1 trillion from one of the first one that he went to, and then he got the plane and $600 billion from Qatar, and then UAE gave him $1.2 trillion.
Well,
he came back with more than $2 trillion. What's the downside?
Okay, I will say the downside from
what's the argument?
An average Democrat looking at things is the fact he is totally under the control of the Middle East now. He's taking all this money.
What do you mean under the control? You mean they have control of him?
Anything they want done, he'll do.
So wait a minute. What?
So that's going to be the next thing you're going to see on TV.
So what?
Well, I understand.
Who cares?
But it's more.
I mean, we need something. We'll
rhetoric.
call them and say, "Hey, take care of Iran. We don't want to have to go over there and deal with that."
We hope so.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's wrong with us helping them to do something and having them as a partner to help us do something in our interest? What's the I still don't understand the downside.
I know. I'm not saying I think
no, I know
positive, but the left is going to twist it around like every stupid thing that happens.
I just don't understand how anybody with any common sense, unless it's just a political argument that they
won't move. Yeah.
There's no justification. There's no common sense for how it's going to be bad. It's just none.
Well, and that's the thing. I tend to not want to admit it, but the last podcast, pre-podcast, you called me a racist, and
you have those tendencies.
I know it was just because of a phrase that I said.
Yeah, and I told you you're not racist. You're not a bad person, but you had a racist point of view about some topics.
Yes, so I guess
I was right.
I still want to claim, deniability on it, but I get what you're saying.
The easiest way not to have to admit it is just say that I'm smart enough to evolve with new information.
Well,
smart enough to realize what I'm saying hears versus how I mean it to be heard.
And you just had you made the comment a few minutes ago is in talking with some people, they're stuck. They're never going to move. No
matter what.
Exactly. And
facts
that's
or
what
common
I want
sense or
right. But that's what I want to emphasize to the audience is I think for as staunch as we are on the conservative side of things,
fiscally, not socially for me.
Well,
I'm a long way socially from Republicans.
Well, I didn't say Republicans. I said conservatives.
Because I'm fiscally.
And
I am not a conservative social environment.
I'm more of a constitutionalist. I'd like to see things.
I don't. When I think of conservative, I think of gays and their rights to be married and live their life the way they want to, and different nationalities. I think of the social construct of conservative makes you think of old white men. I mean, it just does.
Okay, all right, I'll agree with that.
And I'm just not there. I'm not that guy. I mean, I'm that guy, but I'm way evolved. I've got a lot more. I feel a lot differently than I used to about the social side of things. That's why I can't be a Republican. I mean, I just can't. I can't get on board. I think the furthest topic out there, abortion, I believe that there has to be a right to abortion, but it has to be limited. It can't just be this free-for-all that's out there. I don't think you can. I have daughters now. I don't think you can dictate what a female can do with her body. I get that, especially how it changed your life. But I don't think I think they should have to deal with that quickly in the beginning before it gets
the 24-hour pill, not the abortion pill, but the 24-hour pill, whatever that is, that after you have unprotected sex, you take the 24-hour pill.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the smartest, probably safest, probably healthiest way for them to deal with those kind of things. I think that should be available to them.
And that's the thing. We've talked.
So I didn't mean to change the subject.
I know.
I just don't like being. I don't like being put in a box as a conservative, because I'm really not. I'm very. I don't know what the word is. Liberal. I'm very open-minded to other people's challenges with regard to their personal decisions and how they want to live their life, and I just don't think that the Constitution or anything else has anything to do with that. You brought up the Pope. I mean, Jesus Christ, they just...
That's a good way to phrase that.
Come on. You know what I mean? They've got to get with reality if they want to be taken seriously. And I think they're going backwards from what I've heard anyway with this new guy. I hope not.
He is... But he was given his cardinalship by Francis.
Okay.
So there of the, if I can remember this right, of the 136, I think, cardinals that were in attendance.
That's impressive.
108 of them were picked by Francis. So you're talking 90% of the people there were of his kind of thinking.
Yeah, just.
Which is
for me, I don't know what to call myself. I really don't. I would call myself a Trumpian. Probably best describes me. That his way of thinking is probably the closest to my way of thinking of what the options are out there. Democrat, Republican, kind of a libertarian, but you get into the whole isolationist thing.
And see, that's why I say constitutionalist. Which goes kind of to what you were saying about abortion. How can, as I said in the last podcast, your rights stop where mine begin. So, you can't do things to me.
Yeah, I can. I could say things to you that you don't want me to say. I could treat you ways.
You can't treat me because then you're interfering on my...
I don't know. I don't even know how to get down that road. I mean, but just be a good fucking person, and it solves all the problems. So.
I understand. The golden rule, if everybody lived by the damn golden rule, the planet would be a much happier place.
Yeah.
So...
the more you have to talk about shit like that, the more attention you give it, the more you make it a problem. You know what I mean?
Well, true. I mean, you can talk a problem to death without solving it, and hence that's where we are with a lot of the things.
What comes to my mind, I don't know why, but we just keep having this racist argument, just constantly, just brought back up. It's just, and I just don't think the world is like that. I mean, let me rephrase. I don't think the United States. I just don't think anymore it's what it used to be. Absolutely, nobody's going to deny that there's not idiots and assholes out there.
Right.
I mean, there's pedophiles and there's rapists. I mean, there's all of those. Okay, right. But in the big picture, I just don't see it like that anymore. It may be on the at each coast, yes. At each coast,
okay.
In the big metropolitan, how they see us out here, in the
Middle America, yeah.
We aren't. They think we're like Dukes of Hazzard, and it's just not like that anymore.
But they were just good old boys.
Yeah, sure.
And they weren't racist.
I just think the more attention you give that shit, the more people think about it then. And I just don't think if it was we were at war with that all the time and it all be driven down our ears all the time, I just don't think you would see much of it.
Right. I mean,
I just really don't. I don't see it where I live.
And I am definitely happy for that. There are. I personally know some people that are still quite prejudiced.
Sure, older people.
Few
Gotta be older than me because I grew. I was never like that. Ever. I just never, maybe it was just the household I grew up in, maybe it's people around me, I don't know. But it just didn't matter to me. It made no difference to me, ever. Right. I just never understood why it would matter.
And that's very true. That's the mindset.
I don't like people's character. I don't like how people act. I don't care if they're green or black or white. It doesn't matter to me. How they're acting, the asshole they're being, is all that really bothers me.
Well, that you and
but I've always been like that. The only way I know about race wars is them telling me about it.
Yeah, you and Martin Luther King got along on that respect. The actions rather than the color of the skin. So,
I'm just saying it just never mattered to me. I came after that, I think. Or maybe it was just, there was, I understood what it was because they told us about it and you saw it in the news, but we didn't have news in our face when we grew up all the time.
Well,
once in a while we'd watch news at 6 o'clock if we got home in time for dinner and the news was on. We didn't get the news on our phone or on the TV all 24/7. We just didn't get all that. So I'd see that and I'd think, man, that's awful. I never worried about those kind of things happening here.
Right.
Never even woke up one day of my life worrying about a riot happening, a race riot, or I always felt like, this is weird. I don't think I've ever admitted this to myself before. But when I grew up, I don't know, I'll tell you their names off of here. But when I grew up, there were some handicapped kids in our either in my class or below me, okay?
I know exactly.
Okay, there's a blind one, and there was there was two in particular that, I got bullied all through junior high school. So by the time I got to high school, I'd had it, okay? So when I got to high school and I saw people doing things, knocking the books out of the blind girl's arm, walking, she's blind, man. I would jump in and walk her to class. I picked Ryan on my team for basketball and gym first above everybody else. You know what I mean? I did all those kind of things, daring the bullies to do something about it. I always felt like there was more what's the right word to use? There was more.
There was more humanity in their souls than any of the ones.
Maybe that's true because I didn't notice it. What I'm saying is that I worried more about those type of disadvantaged people than I did a black person or a Mexican brown person or. I just they're fucking grown man. They can take care of themselves. You know what I mean?
Right. So,
I never felt any animosity toward anybody until they showed me a reason to. And then I felt like the people that were discriminated the most against when I grew up, what I knew in my little bubble world was disadvantaged people like that. And I grew to that all through school. you know, it's just I've done that my whole life though. I've been more drawn to someone that I can help than people that I am told to by the government because they deserve something.
Yeah.
I never even understood what's the phrase, what's the old word that they have still. I think they outlawed it finally, where they put black kids in colleges over top of other people that deserved it.
Yeah,
they did that for a while. I just never, never understood it. I just never got it.
No, and see that to me.
Was your experience different than that? Did you see that thing that I just never noticed? Were you more aware of that?
Probably when I was a kid. Well, a little. I hate to say my dad was not the. I mean, he never. The only time. I'm not going to say a lot. There was one time that I was surprised.
Keep him alive. The good. We all have the good and the bad. Okay, so.
I know.
Share it with us. I mean, doesn't mean he's a bad person. It was a different time then.
I know, but it involves somebody else, and I don't want to.
That's okay.
So, but he did, say some things there that I never really saw, because I mean he, I never heard him say a bad thing about a black person, and he, with the racetracks and everything that he was at. There were lots of, groomsmen that were black people and all, and he worked with them, and several of them, he was buddies with. But I was surprised, with my dad on that issue that I don't really want to get into. I'm sorry, but I do know, now I didn't hear about this until maybe 10 years ago. My sister, now this was in probably 1965, 6, was and still today is best friends with a black lady here in town, and they had gone together down to Kresge's, and that's when Kresge's had the little lunch counter in there.
Wasn't little. It was long. It was huge lunch counter.
But they
went from one end of that store all the way to the other end of that store.
Yeah. But they had booths also in there. And they were sitting down in the booth, and they were just talking back and forth, and nobody come over, and they sat for a little longer, and my sister tried to call somebody over to say we're ready, and she said to her, says, don't worry about it, let's go. And so
see, I guess I was sheltered or whatever, because I saw that in movies,
right?
I saw it in the history books, you know what I mean? I saw. We all watched Roots. We all sat with our parents and watched Roots. You know what I mean? I think that educated our whole country. That movie did probably, because you watched it as a family a lot of times and everything. I just feel like I don't know. Maybe I think too much of myself. I've just always considered myself a rebel. If somebody was going to tell me you can't be friends with somebody, that's the first person I'm going to fucking bring into my ring of friends. If somebody was telling me that they couldn't sit and eat with me at a counter, I'd have had 50 of them in there and the whole counter full. I mean, I just would have. I guess it's silly to me in my brain. I mean, it's just how I was wired, I guess, how I was raised. It's silly to me for anybody to think anything less of any human.
Right.
Period.
Right. And
I mean, I don't even, and I still carry that today. I find it really extraordinary if you could find me a town full of those people that don't like this particular color or that particular size or whatever, a town full of all women that all hate men, or a town, I just don't think it exists any more than this does anymore.
It's seldom.
If anybody thinks that person is any less of a person than that person, they're just an idiot.
Mm-hmm. Well, so
am I right?
Yeah.
Because I think it's more about the parents. I'd want to go smack a bunch of parents
absolutely.
Before I'd ever want to be mad at a kid for doing something.
There's a video that I can't remember if it was on YouTube or I think it probably was at the time. It's just one of those little clips, and it's music playing, and you've got these two little boys that see each other on the street, and they just going like this, and then they start running toward each other and give themselves the biggest hug that you'd ever seen, two people give. And it was a little white boy and a little black boy.
Well, they don't know any difference. They only know what their parents or their family or their neighborhood convinces them of.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. I don't believe by any means that.
I just think we're right about that.
So are we doing endorsements now? You got your Minute Maid there, so
no, it's actually
my Dunkins.
I'm spoiled. My wife actually makes me. We just use their bottles and makes me sugar-free juices.
Oh, what kind of juices?
That's grape.
That's grape juice? Yeah. Okay. All right.
We're very frugal around here.
Well, frugality is something that is a lost trait. I think there's a lot more people that need to be a little more frugal on things, and
with all these vans driving around everywhere you see, delivering packages every single day on my street every day.
I know.
It's not going to stop. It's not going to slow down
because we are lazy.
Yeah, I think we're addicted.
We like convenience.
I think all those true. Agreed. I think the big point that drives all that is that we all are so, even I catch myself, instant gratification right now.
Yeah.
I can't wait till next month.
100%.
I need it right now. I can't wait. Stop. If I'm losing interest, I'm going on to something else.
Yeah.
And our brains now are controlling us, where they used to say there's a part of the male's body that controlled us, or you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I think this is even wired over that to where whatever the subject is.
Why do you think Amazon is the largest retailer in the world?
Yeah, well, there's no question.
Mean,
all they are is the Walmart. Walmart decided how to take all the mom and pops, put them in one big space, and they decided how to put Walmart out of business eventually by just skipping them. And you get it cheaper sometimes just direct instead of even having to go to Walmart.
I know.
So
that's why I say we're I did say lazy.
Do you agree that's probably even above lazy? It makes them lazy. It makes us lazy.
The convenience of it
makes us lazy.
We have adjusted our being to do things that the youth right now, that's all they know.
What do you
everything
here's an issue.
You buy
my daughter and I have a problem with this before you finish that sentence. I need to know what you understand youth to mean, because in my head it probably means something very, very different than most. I don't know, but I'm very curious. What do you
for me when I think of youth?
So I want to know what your sentence means, because I need to know what
So youth would basically be someone out of the house, so 18, 19 years old, that their primary
So Gen
use
Z.
of, okay.
Uh,
Primary use,
yes.
if that's what it is, then that's fine.
Well, I mean-
the primary use of things is convenience because they grew up with a smartphone,
So,
in their crib.
I would put an asterisk beside convenience, and actually I'd put convenience on the asterisk and make the primary word spoiled.
No.
You don't think so?
That's no, not for me. I think it is just like, well, okay, we're this proves Darwin's theory,
Which one?
evolution. What have we?
How does it prove it?
We have evolved.
We'd like make national news if you're able to prove this right now.
Well, I mean, honestly, think about it. Here, you and I grew up with black and white TVs.
no remote.
No
antenna,
remote.
three channels.
We were the remote.
6, 10, and 4.
And 28.
No, not to begin
Oh.
with.
Well, it was there.
No, it was
It's
like
just whether your antenna could get
no,
it.
it was like channel 43 or 53 or some stupid shit.
Wait a
Mr.
minute.
Kangaroo,
Wait.
what was his name?
Well, no, Captain Kangaroo.
Captain,
was
you
on,
did him? No.
No, he was on Channel 10.
Okay. Yeah, he was.
Channel
Yeah.
10.
How about the late show, the late night show?
Well, it depends.
the midnight movie guy at Columbus that was
okay,
on for like
Fritz-
30
Fritz
fucking
the Night Owl?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
But let me get my
Okay.
point. So
you took me down a lane.
I know. It's a fun avenue to go.
Well, it's what I want them to learn about.
tripping down.
I mean, what we
Well,
had
but-
available to us compared to what they have is so radical.
So we are the proof of Darwinism because we had those basics. The family pretty much had one car. Mom and dad
Yeah,
didn't
the rich
really.
people had 2 cars.
Yeah. So we evolved from those basics to a computer. Before that, typewriters, everything just typewriters. And then, we got the electric typewriters. And then you got the...
Yeah, I went through college and law school, graduated both on typewriters.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
whiteout.
and whiteout.
And throwing the paper away 50 times before you got the whole thing through without it
So
being
did
embarrassing.
Your professor didn't want any whiteout on.
No, it would get where there's more whiteout than letters.
I got you.
You
So-
couldn't cut and paste. So I decided I want to move that paragraph down below that one. You had to white the whole, and like throw it away and start over
Yeah.
again.
So
They're so spoiled. They're so spoiled.
No, it's evolving.
My kids went to law school on their computer. They didn't even have to go to class.
Right.
Okay, you didn't have to go to a library.
But
They're spoiled.
That was the evolution of technology. We have evolved. The sad part of that evolution, we didn't catch up with technology as. Did you sleep?
No, why did?
As much as we should have evolved as people, because in the 60s when we were transitioning from color TVs and a cordless phone,
What do you want? What? Come here.
our mascot's having issues.
Anxiety.
Uh-huh. It's okay.
Keep going.
So, our match of technology didn't match our evolution as beings of what's your mean here? Beings of compassion, and I mean we were compassionate, but the issues of race and things of that nature, we didn't elevate ourselves as quickly as technology did. But going to where we are with the evolution of things, kids are in that evolution era. They are seeing.
My kids were too in the
Yes.
computer era.
But
We're
right.
way past that.
We're way past that. There she is. See, there's Bella. She just wants to be on TV, don't you? So, for them, that evolution of they didn't know anything. That's why I said that they grew up with a smartphone in their crib. So it's
and now it's an iPad.
Well, we've evolved past iPads now too.
Sure.
But I mean, we've got.
But I'm saying kids.
The smart.
Every kid you see at the airport, anywhere, all have iPads. Every one of them.
Yeah. So
I don't have one.
Well,
my kids do.
I've got a couple, but I don't use them anymore.
The
really.
Oh, okay.
I tend to just use the phone for everything. So, but kids, that technology is all they know.
So how's that prove Darwin's theory?
Because
we haven't made national news yet.
We are who we are right now. We have knowledge of things. So
you compared caveman to, I mean, you're trying to make a comparison of
okay, if you want to bring
the youth to us, is that what you're trying to compare?
Look at the quick transition of things. We went from 1900 with 90% of people, maybe 95 at 1900, still using horse and wagon.
Mm-hmm. And my mama was born in 1919, so she watched the car be put on the road. You know what I mean?
So
we can talk about every generation and the evolution, but I don't think. I mean, all you're doing is just rewiring the brain. You're not doing anything else.
So what is that? It's an evolution in our societal.
Sure.
And you can't say from 1900 to 2000 the impact that technology has had on humanity.
We've covered every topic on this podcast
outside of the emoluments clause.
Yeah,
I know
what you started with, but okay, go ahead. I don't even know how we got here.
Well, every podcast,
it certainly did not prove Darwin's theory. Okay,
oh please, no, think. The evolution.
Yeah,
these kids
listen,
today.
I already think so. I already know what it is.
There is.
I don't need to have
if you
more examples.
You know how it used to be. You take the rattle out of a kid's crib and he'd start crying. You get that if you take away their tablet or their smartphone.
Yeah, but it's rewired our brain. Okay,
evolution.
I mean, it didn't take this new event to prove that. I mean, there's been, like you said, the car. I mean, there's been the evolution. We've adapted to all that. So I want to say this before the podcast's over because I left it out when we were talking about discrimination earlier. Okay. Because I've always deep down in my gut, and I'm going to be called, I don't know, privileged. I was poor when I was born. I'm a single mom. Nobody going to call me privileged. Everything I've got, I earned, literally. The discrimination that I felt as a person was being short.
Oh.
I genuinely felt like that was a handicap. Everything I loved, football, basketball, sports period, everything I loved, with women, the taller you were as a man, the more opportunities you had.
Of course.
It's a disadvantage. It's a handicap. And I've got to compete in this. There's no NBA junior.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Where they all have to be a certain height or lower so that proportionally I was the same height as Michael Jordan playing against everybody. You know what I mean? And that's probably petty and maybe silly for people to hear. But as a person, I felt that way.
Well, no.
I felt like I got screwed. I'm being screwed by this society and the rules that it created and the fun that it created and everything that goes along with it, and I had to be short. I had to work harder to pick up the same girls, the tall quarterback. That took a lot more work for me. I'd have a lot more personality. I guess that's what made me so great in the end. but being short, I mean,
You're how tall?
Now or ever?
When you're at your tallest.
At my very tiptoed tallest, I was 5'9", maybe. Okay. Now, if you look at my football program, West Virginia, you're going to find out that I was 6'1".
Oh, ha!
Okay. So
wow.
The division of football I played, apparently the coaches were embarrassed to put anybody in the book below 6 foot. So but I would say now maybe 5'6", maybe.
Okay.
So
we'll have to check that out after.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying. I felt like I had a lot of my potential was hindered because of that handicap.
Well, and see,
that's just how I felt.
This is the thing with anybody. I don't care who you are, where you come from, what your family background is. There is nothing that if you put your mind to it, you can't do. I mean,
unless you're short. I can't play in the NFL. It couldn't happen. I couldn't play. It didn't matter if I took steroids and growth pills and got on stretching machines. I would have gotten killed. I got killed in college because I was too small. I played semi-pro football and got killed more.
But your problem with that was
that's just not true. That's misleading people.
No. I'll clarify things.
Okay.
But the thing that was your issue was you've told me that it didn't matter how big the person was opposing you, you were going to take them down.
In any specific event, okay, you could win a fight. You could win a battle. But you can't win the war, okay? Because I could do that, but here's the thing. I am sitting here now a liability to my family and my kids right now because I attempted to prove that theory true in a sport that I loved and was very good at, but I destroyed my body. My back's broke playing football. I've had 3 major surgeries. I have 13 surgeries on my hands. My shoulder 3 times here. This is going to be the 4th time coming up. They're going to replace it finally. I could go on and on and on. I wake up and go to sleep every day of my life in pain. I have pain stimulators. I have like bionic man parts in me to try to help me cope with the pain and not be grumpy all the time or depressed all the time or any of those things. I live with pain all the time because I had to be that person. Okay, the problem is, now in hindsight, and I won some of those battles, sure. Put me in one situation, I'll go against Lawrence Taylor. One time, fuck yeah. Okay, but have the squad ready, okay, after that event, because even if I did win that event, I'm going to the hospital.
Well,
I want, and my kids, I probably think the same thing that you're telling me because that's how I raised them. But I hope they've listened to me in hindsight and heard me and still taking my advice even after they've gotten out there, because I've told them, I'm going to tell you right now, that's just not true. I just don't believe, and maybe I'm wrong, I just don't believe that color of your skin has any fucking difference to whether you could do any, but how short or how tall you are does. Your mental capacity, your IQ does. If you're on the spectrum and you're not on the spectrum, if you're a genius that way and on the spectrum, it matters. You cannot do anything you want. You can't. Sit down with your parents or somebody you care about and make sure somebody who's given you those boundaries and setting those goals for you aren't setting unrealistic goals. All you kids, like when I grew up, man, the NFL was like the only thing in the world. Just nothing else mattered. Okay, from Colt football all the way up. You think you're going to the NFL? If you're under 6 foot, you aren't. Okay, it's not going to happen. Okay. Stop. Okay. Create your goals so that you can be more successful in life.
All right.
Make your goals realistic. Don't mislead them.
And I'll amend things to say that you can't do everything.
Yeah,
there are physical limitations.
Yeah.
That should have been obvious in my statement.
Yeah,
but he is a very literal person.
Yeah,
so.
no. I'm not. I don't try to pin you to everybody, just like I don't like being pinned to every. I understand we're talking generally, so I agree with you that. I understand what you were trying to say. Well, I just don't want them.
Well, and that's
from somebody who now is like, yeah, I used to say that.
But I understand, and still, I don't want anybody to sitting there thinking, I'm not, I'm short, I'm a different color than what is socially. With aggressive.
Told you. Keep going.
So, it still is. This controls everything. Your determination, your ability to get out of bed in the morning and say, I'm going to do something that's going to make me, my family, better, prouder. You have that determination. You have that will to be able to do it. And not worry about what other people think.
That's a podcast of its own, because I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. But I really want to do. Let's formulate that, because
surprise me with
I want to.
I don't like knowing. I don't want to know ahead of time. But it's important that. The purpose of this podcast, I mean, honestly, we're just trying to be ourselves and give perspective, because I'm going to admit it right now, I don't like it. And I realized, looking back, how it was with me and my mom when I grew up. I didn't realize it at the time. I realize it now. But my kids are all smarter than me. Every one of them. The dumb one, the one that's being an idiot occasionally, is smarter than me.
He still loves.
That they're all smarter than me. I try to give them advice, and it's like them watching a black and white TV. It's just like, okay, Dad, gotcha. You know what I mean?
But that's every kid.
But because they're smart, we're telling them something that they're like, I knew that when I was 5, Dad. You know what I mean? There's like nothing they don't know now.
Well,
it's developing them as a person. Helping them get the most out of themselves, set their goals realistic, and teaching them how to get there. I think I did a really good job of that. At least it looks like I did. My kids proved that I was a good dad, or they're just all flukes. I don't know. But it's, to me, our purpose isn't trying to tell them anything. They already have their own opinions. They're already developed way sooner than mine was at that age.
But that's that evolution.
Sure, but all we can do is try to share with them perspective so they understand us. They understand life better. They understand, the social skills that lack in this youth that you talk about, this new generation that's out there. Mm-hmm. They just don't, how many boys walk up to a girl and ask her to go to a dance? Or how many? I just don't think that kind of shit even happens anymore. I think we went from...
They do it like this.
Yeah, well, I think they went, not to be crude, but I think they went from bars and nightclubs and interacted socially to Tinder.
Oh, yeah.
Why go out?
Yeah, when you can swipe right
Yeah.
and say I'll be there in so long.
I think my kids could be better and get more out of life, understand life better, learn quicker to be able to take advantage of life quicker than I did it. They're already doing that with their intellect, but that doesn't give them social skills, common sense skills, life skills. Like, for instance, one of the big motivations for me in this is I really hate to admit that one of the things that I was proud of how I raised my kids was through sports. I was wrong. I just was wrong. If I could go back and do it all over again, if I knew how I was going to feel right now, I just wouldn't have done it. I got my youngest boy out to play semi-pro with me just for me, selfishly. You know what I mean? Came out, did it for Dad, got another concussion. On me, you know what I mean? I think we owe it to them to share what they don't know yet. And that's just not all facts and it's life
sports
experiences.
Is important.
Yeah, but not the way I drove it.
I understand.
Not the way I drove.
Yes.
It. Okay.
Yes.
I expected too much, pushed too hard, even on my daughter. I would do it differently now. Okay. I would work harder, more on the discussion about sharing life and life experiences, what you haven't learned yet because you haven't gotten there yet. Let me tell you how to navigate these. Nobody ever taught me how to pick up a girl.
Yeah.
Who? What would that be?
I know.
I mean, nobody. I mean, who would have felt comfortable in our days of living?
I'm sure you probably learned by watching older, guys in your class.
I really didn't, because I would watch other guys and realize they're idiots. You know what I mean? I never saw any guy smart enough to ever try to meet or pick up a girl that had any kind of game, okay, as they call it now. It was a joke back in our day. It was luck. You either lucked into it or they made the first discussion with you to make you feel
a little
safe.
Empowered.
Yeah, you know what I mean, or more confident. We didn't have any idea. Now, why did I have to grow up that way? Because somebody wasn't comfortable enough to share with me life experiences and how they work and how to be a better person all the way around about all kinds of subjects. But nobody does that anymore, and that's what this podcast is for. I generally hope that people would gain something from this, get something out of it, even if they thought I'm an idiot, even if what I'm telling them, and like I told my kids about doing this, probably the biggest lesson I ever learned in my life from one person, and this is the only topic that my mom won't be first on the list on, but my biological father taught me more about how to be a person and how to be a parent than anybody, by showing me what not to be like.
Okay.
I learned what it was like to have a fucking awful father. I mean, he was just an asshole. He was a dick. He was disrespectful to my mom. Of course, they were never together. You know what I mean? They got married for a short period. He left, went iron working at 3 Mile Island to make money, and then one day he showed back up in the pool hall, and we didn't even know he was home. You know what I mean? He was not a good father. He was not a good spouse. He was not a good person. And I learned more from him.
Okay, I wondered what you were learning.
What not
now,
to be like.
All right.
Sometimes you need to know what not to do.
All right.
It's, you know what I mean? I know they say you got to fail 100 times to succeed, but it'd be nice if our parents would teach us how to fail a few less times along the way. You know what I mean? And share those embarrassing things or those failures of your own so that they don't go down that same path.
True.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be a light intelligence, facts, or compare your intelligence with mine. It's
But
your
like-
it's your
But like you said earlier, you said your kid at 5 years old when you were trying to explain, Dad, I already know that.
yeah.
So
no, that wasn't as aggressive when I raised my kids. The computers a little bit, you know what I mean? The gaming a little bit, but my kids were never allowed to do any one thing all the time. You know what I mean? So they had a limited time to be doing that shit, and it was at the beginning of all this. This just started. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we say just started.
Well,
but
they were the real.
It's been in our lives long enough to.
Yeah, but it didn't
transformed us.
immerse your brain until about my kids were teenagers. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Well, yeah.
So I had already had them kind of a little bit brainwashed by then to begin with. So they already understood. They were smart enough to understand the detriments of things. And so all I'm saying is it doesn't have to be something I'm teaching you to know how to do. I might be a great person for you to learn how not to be.
All right.
I want to watch him and definitely not be like that hassle.
You know. Well, let's crawl out of the rabbit hole
All right, yeah.
a minute and get back.
Now let's finish up. Let's get a
I know.
summary put together.
Get back to the subject and close out. So right now, everything, what do you feel that after Qatar throwing a $400 million airplane at Trump?
Good for us. It's
what-
about time
why-
we start getting something instead of giving it to everybody else.
I get that, but what now if he starts going around the world and everybody starts throwing stuff at Trump?
Yeah. What if girls start throwing their underwear at him at rallies? I mean, what if? I mean, come on. That's all you got on the guy. That's all the newscasts have. What if? Come on.
Like
just
you said, though.
Stop.
It
Stop
was to be
thinking
given
that
to
the bomb's going off tomorrow.
It was to be given to the United States, not just like the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
It's
How do you
given
know
to the
what's going to
United
happen
States.
with that plane? How do you know?
I-
Because the news is telling us something? How do they know what he's going to do with that plane? Do you think he shared that with anybody? Probably not.
Well,
No, probably not. He probably hasn't said to anybody when that plane gets here, here's what's going to happen. He will, but there's nobody out there knows what the fuck he's thinking. He's not sure yet. He's still wrapping his brain around it and figuring it out and testing the waters and seeing what everybody says and watching the news himself. He doesn't even necessarily know. So for you to conclude that he's going to keep it himself because the news said so.
I didn't conclude that.
That was what you're leaning towards.
No,
It was
I
supposed
said
to
that
be to
it'd
the
be-
United States. You're making me think that you think it's not going to go to the United States.
No, I'm just saying that, what if other governments
Want to give us another plate?
give us
so we have two
other
of them?
stuff.
So
stuff.
what? Bring it on.
Well,
I mean, what we
understand.
just give to Ukraine? Would it be different if we sent $600 billion worth of statues to Ukraine? Would that have been different somehow?
Well,
I mean, what we've given out versus what we've
I
gotten
know.
back.
I know.
Let's not go down that road.
I
Yeah, I don't have. I mean, I get it, but I'd rather. I just enjoy, appreciate, and respect the transparency.
Yes.
I just. If
That-
you're gonna
and-
if you're gonna take a bribe, at least let everybody know you took it,
Right.
and then your actions will be viewed differently
Yep. As opposed to
under the table.
the Biden mafia that had so many things.
It just came up on our monitor over here. It just came up that the prostate cancer is now
aggressive.
So I think when he passes, I think you might be surprised the evolution of the people in the Democratic Party.
Well, I'm almost worried. I don't know. This is more conspiracy theory, I guess, if anything.
We got 2 minutes.
That,
We'll let you finish it up here. Go.
Is in that vein of things. Is this happening just because he has gotten on a couple TV programs and is starting to babble.
What happened?
And our people is the cancer now, this aggressive cancer, because the last shot never said aggressive, and that was about 20 minutes ago. So now it's aggressive cancer. So,
for 50 years with this guy, you couldn't find out where he got his hair cut.
Yeah.
They wouldn't share nothing, but now all this in a day's time.
But I mean, there's still a lot of stuff in his
brain.
brain.
So are you suggesting, real quick, we got to finish, are you suggesting that it's not the Bidens releasing this information, it's the Democratic Party with a motive, with a plan?
Well, sort of, kind of.
Wow.
That,
I've seen in my lifetime, I wouldn't put anything past that. I don't think that's a possible theory, but
we don't want him going off and spilling our secrets.
I don't know what we is. I mean, I don't think he knows what the secrets are.
Pelosi's, the Schumers, the
Clintons,
those
people.
What's
that have to do with him dying?
He knows too much about the stuff that they've done.
I don't think he remembers enough to.
I
think he's in that phase of he's the man. I'm in control. I've always been in control. That's what I remember. I'm the boss. I'm the decision maker. But if you asked him what day it was, he'd probably have to look at his assistant.
That's the thing.
So
people with dementia have more memories of history
than
they do of now.
Different stages of that stuff that we don't understand, and we only know what they're telling us.
Exactly. It's new.
I feel bad for the family. I feel bad for anybody that's going to lose a dad or a parent or a family member. I feel bad for them. But I have no feelings of loss losing him. I just don't.
No.
I think he's had a long career taking advantage of everything he was taught how to do.
Term limits.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know. It was a good topic because it's kind of current. I don't know. Looking back on it, this podcast, they'll ever know what the fuck we're talking about, what plane we're talking about. They probably won't even know then. But keep in mind that topic we said. So the next time. So do what now?
Like, subscribe, comment. Share. We want to be in every household.
Yeah, we just like some attention.
Yeah. So does Bella. Obviously, she definitely wants.
Peace, everybody. Thank you for watching.